Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all doing great today. So, there's a brand new update that just dropped for Goose Goose Duck. And honestly, this one's packed with some cool stuff, especially for the Halloween season. We're talking about new rules, some spooky themed content, and a bunch of bug fixes that players have been asking for. The devs really came through with some interesting additions this time, and I've been testing things out to give you the full picture of what's changed, what's improved, and what's maybe still a little questionable. So let's talk about everything in the latest update for Goose Goose Duck version 4.0.04. First off, the highlight of this update is definitely the new paired roles, Dr. Turducken and Dr. Turducken's Monster. Yeah, the names alone tell you this is very much a Halloween-inspired addition. The devs leaned into that mad scientist vibe, and it fits the overall theme of the game perfectly. Goofy, creepy, and chaotic in all the right ways. So, the way this works is that Dr. Turducken and their monster are basically a duo with a shared goal. They're part of what's called the trick-or-treat role pairing, and their win condition revolves around taking out all the villagers. It's got a bit of that thrall and vampire energy, but with a fresh twist that keeps the gameplay unpredictable. Now, one of the big changes that came along with these roles is that thralls and the monster can actually talk during meetings now. Before, they were kind of isolated and had to rely on subtle communication or pure guessing, which made coordination tricky. This new update changes that completely. It opens up a lot of new strategies for the imposter-style players, especially if you're clever about how you blend in with the others. Imagine being able to coordinate fake alibis with your monster or Dr. Turducken in a meeting. That's going to make social deduction way more intense. And let's be honest, Goose Goose Duck is all about those chaotic meetings where everyone's accusing everyone else, so adding more communication layers just makes it juicier. The Halloween content doesn't stop there, though. The devs added these new trick-or-treat events across the maps for the season. Basically, when you're playing, you'll find little trick-or-treat spots scattered around, and when you interact with them, you can get buffs or debuffs. It's totally random, so you could end up with something that helps you or something that totally ruins your round. I love that kind of unpredictability because it keeps even the most serious rounds from feeling too predictable. Like, 1 second, you're confidently heading toward your next task, and the next second, you've got a debuff that makes you slower than a snail. It's chaotic, but fun, and that's what this game thrives on. You can tell the developers wanted to embrace that Halloween energy without going overboard. The update doesn't just rely on cosmetics or themed decorations. It actually gives players a reason to engage with the new mechanics. And for those of us who like themed updates, it's nice to see the game's seasonal content tied to gameplay, not just aesthetics. So if you've been wanting something new to shake up the usual gameplay loop, this trick-or-treat system definitely delivers. Now let's get into some of the fixes, because this patch also focused a lot on quality of life stuff and bug squashing. One of the biggest changes is in the arcade tasks, specifically the Mad Quacks one. Before, some players found the controls a bit awkward, especially on PC, but now it actually uses your movement keys for up, down, left, and right. It's a simple change, but it makes those little mini tasks feel smoother and less clunky. I've always thought those arcade tasks were a fun way to break up the tension of the round, but when the controls don't respond the way you expect, it just ruins the flow. So this is definitely a welcome tweak. Another fix that stood out to me was the issue with closet interactions changing a player's goose color. Yeah, that one was weird. People would hide, and suddenly their color would glitch and make them stand out during meetings, which could literally give away your role or confuse everyone. That's gone now, thankfully. The fire sabotage visuals have also been fixed. Before this update, the fire effects wouldn't reset properly after meetings on maps like Goose Chapel, Mallard Manor, and SS Mother Goose. It wasn't game-breaking, but it was definitely distracting, especially when the visuals kept hanging around like some kind of eternal inferno. Music lovers will be happy about this one too. Meeting music will now play correctly even if the light sabotage is active. It's a small detail, but those little touches help keep the atmosphere of the game intact. When the audio cues work right, it adds to the immersion, and you really feel like you're part of this strange little murder mystery world full of chaotic birds. Then there's the sniper reticle fix. If you've ever been eaten by the pelican mid-use of that ability, you might have noticed the reticle staying on screen. It's one of those visual glitches that just breaks immersion, and it's finally been patched out. The same goes for the Thrall revive countdown. It wasn't showing up before, which left people guessing when they'd come back. Now it's visible again, so you actually know how long you're out of the action. What's cool about this update is that it's not just about adding new things, it's about cleaning up some of the messier edges the game's developed over the past few patches. Goose Duck's been growing a lot in terms of community and player base, especially since it went viral. So it's good to see the devs keeping up with the smaller details that make the overall experience smoother. One thing I noticed while testing this update with friends is that the communication between the new paired roles adds this extra layer of bluffing that wasn't really there before. You can tell when someone's trying to coordinate, but the best players will mask it so well that it's almost impossible to catch. It brings a fresh energy to the game that kind of reminds me of when new roles were first being introduced. Everyone's trying to figure out the best strategies, what works, what doesn't, and how to use the role's mechanics without giving yourself away. And of course, the timing of this update couldn't be better. October always brings out the best seasonal events in games, but Goose Goose Duck has this unique charm because the world already feels kind of darkly comedic. So adding Halloween elements just enhances that vibe. You can tell they've really leaned into making the world feel alive, or undead, I guess. Something else that's worth talking about is how balanced the new trick-or-treat system feels. It's not just random chaos. Even when you get a bad debuff, it doesn't totally ruin your game. It just changes your approach. Maybe you have to be a little more cautious or rely more on your teammates. And when you get a good buff, it feels like a little win that adds to the momentum of your round. It's those small random elements that keep the game fresh, especially for veteran players who might have felt like things were getting a bit repetitive. Now, if you're someone who plays Goose Goose Duck mostly for the social side of things, the debates, the wild accusations, the absolute nonsense that goes down in meetings, this update makes that experience even better. With the new communication adjustments for paired roles and thralls, the social dynamic shifts in interesting ways. You'll start noticing patterns like who defends who or how certain players subtly coordinate. It's really fun to watch it unfold. And let's be real, that's what this game thrives on, those moments where everyone's talking over each other, trying to piece together a story while someone's quietly plotting in the background. The Halloween theme just adds that extra layer of energy to all of it. The new roles aren't just surface level additions, they actually push the meta in a new direction, especially with that shared win condition. It makes you think differently about alliances, betrayals, and who you can really trust in those tense final rounds. I also want to give some credit to how stable the game feels after this update. I didn't run into any serious crashes or performance hiccups, which hasn't always been the case with previous patches. The optimization seems to be improving, and even on older systems, it's been running smoothly. That's huge for a game that relies so much on quick reactions and voice chat, because any lag or delay can totally ruin your timing or make meetings unbearable. One thing I'm curious to see is how the community reacts over the next few weeks. You know how it goes. Whenever new roles get added, then people start finding all these unexpected interactions and exploits. The Monster and Dr. Turducken combo feels pretty balanced right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if players start uncovering some wild strategies that the devs didn't anticipate. That's part of what keeps the game alive, though. People always pushing the mechanics in new ways. Overall, this update feels like the perfect blend of spooky seasonal fun and meaningful gameplay improvements. It's the kind of patch that rewards both casual players who just want to mess around with friends and the more competitive types who care about the balance and technical polish. The new trick-or-treat mechanics add that unpredictability the game thrives on, and the bug fixes make the overall experience way smoother than it was before. If you've been taking a break from Goose Goose Duck, this is a great time to jump back in. The Halloween content gives you that perfect excuse to hop into a few rounds, mess with the new roles, and maybe even scare your friends a little in the process. And for those who've been playing consistently, you're going to appreciate the smaller details that make everything feel tighter and more polished. So, yeah, Goose Goose Duck's latest update hits all the right notes. You've got fresh content that fits the spooky season, meaningful fixes that address old issues, and new roles that genuinely shake up how you play the game.